All right. Hi, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about our resident playwright application for our 2026-2027 cohort. My name is Jessica Bird-Beza. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm the executive artistic director here at Playwrights Foundation. And today, during the info session, we're going to give a brief overview of the program itself. We also have Ruben, one of our resident playwrights, current resident playwrights, who's going to share a little bit about his experience from a playwright perspective. And we're also going to go through what is in the application, why it's there, what hopefully will help you be most successful in that application, as well as look at the application portal itself. So if you're here with us live and for some reason you're not able to stay for the whole time, just as a reminder, this is recorded and we're going to post it onto the website as well. In addition to the guidelines that are on the website, and everything we're reviewing today is in the guidelines as well. As a reminder, we're keeping video and camera off, but please encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat as we move along. And I'm going to pass over to Jeffrey.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Gann. My pronouns are he and him. I am the literary manager here at Playwrights Foundation. What that means is that I am in charge of the application processes for both the Bay Area Playwrights Festival and the Resident Playwrights program. And I also do a little bit of dramaturgical support for many of the playwrights who engage with us as well. And I just help out around the company too. I'm so excited to welcome you all into this space with Jessica and with Ruben. I really love this program, and I am so thrilled that there's been such a excitement about it from the local playwright community. Throughout this, my role in this is going to be really talking about the application, and as Jessica said, why it's structured the way it is, what things are happening in there. And throughout, I'll also be monitoring, the chat for any questions that you might have related to what we're talking about today. So if you have questions, I encourage you to drop them in the chat and we will try to lift them up. Jessica and Ruben, can you hear me all right as well? I see there's great, cool, thank you. Excellent. Moving right along. Ruben, maybe you might introduce yourself when we get into the that part of the program. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll leave that for a little bit later. So I just wanted to welcome you all in and also do a brief land acknowledgement. This is our custom here at Playwrights Foundation. This reads, we at Playwrights Foundation respectfully acknowledge that our offices are on the unceded territory of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the past, present, and future caretakers of this land, now called San Francisco. We are guests here and recognize that we benefit from living and working on their ancestral homeland. It is a privilege to call this our home. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. For all of you who are attending today, I invite you to introduce yourselves in the chat if you feel comfortable. Perhaps you could say your name, your pronouns, give a brief land acknowledgement if you feel comfortable with that, and name any accessibility needs that we might be able to meet to make you more comfortable and make this a more accessible experience for you. If you don't know what native land you are on, you can look it up at native-land.ca, which is a great tool that we use quite a lot. I myself live in San Francisco in the Mission, and I live on the land of the Ramaytush Ohlone community.
Jeffrey,
yes.
we are still getting that some folks are saying that you are a little garbled. Maybe
Sure.
go out and come back in and let's see what happens. And I'll move us through to the purpose, vision, and values while you do that.
Sure. Here, I'll make you a host. How about that?
Okay, perfect. As I'm talking, am I garbled? Is it all of us, or am I fine as I'm chatting right now? Folks in the room. Okay. Great. So before we talk about the program, just want to kind of center us in Playwrights Foundation's purpose, vision, and values, which is something we do at every rehearsal and staff meeting and board meeting just to remind us of why we exist and what our guiding values are as well. So these are on our website, but here at Playwrights Foundation, we support and empower playwrights' artistic growth and careers while championing their voices on a national level. And imagine a future where playwrights are radically centered as visionary leaders who transform the world through storytelling. And I just want to name we updated our purpose and vision, formerly referred to as mission, in our strategic planning process a few years ago, which led to us updating our programs in 2023, which really the big focus is this language around supporting playwrights' artistic growth and careers and being a more holistic support. Whereas formally our mission referred to really supporting new plays. And so we've really been shifting our programs to what is the support, holistic support for the playwright, which of course still includes support for new plays and new play development, but really trying to support people over a longer period of time. And which has led to our new this will be kind of the second iteration of our resident playwright program in this way, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But in addition to our purpose and vision, our guiding values that really center a lot of our decision making and how we set up our programs is playwright centered, community, equity, inclusion, innovation, transparency, and local commitment, which this program is a big expression of our values of local commitment, as it is our program that is only open to Bay Area playwrights. So I'm going to stop sharing that for right now. And we're going to switch to talk about the program itself. And recognizing that some folks are also visual folks, as we're talking through today, we are going to also be sharing screen and looking at the guidelines, which are on the website, but make sure you have this saved somewhere so you can refer back to. I'm going to drop the link in the chat, but I'm also going to share screens so that we are moving through. But this is on the application page itself. Let me just pull this up. Okay, great. So our resident playwright program is our program that is really centered on supporting mid-career playwrights and giving a space for an artistic home to grow and advance their career within a nurturing community within a multi-year residency. And I think that word community is really important because as you see that we'll talk about later, this is a program that is within a cohort. And so there are 4 playwrights that are moving through the program at the same time. And we have monthly cohort meetings in which we're sharing work, where we're talking about artistic process, careers, doing different networking. For example, our last meeting was actually bringing in dramaturgs here in the Bay Area and talking about what is dramaturgy, and having them two of the dramaturgs, review playwrights each playwright's work and having a conversation about it. So that's an example of something that might happen in a cohort meeting. In addition to, we have a retreat that kicks off every year. And a big part of, in addition to the cohort element, a big part of the program is also what are your individual goals? What is your purpose? What is your vision? What are you hoping to accomplish in this year? In regards to your writing and who you are as a writer as well. And then those help guide, and we have individual meetings with each of the playwrights throughout the year. And some of the biggest shifts in the past couple years that has come into this residency is some of the shifting of our programs is also allowing us to put more financial investment towards The playwrights and particularly resident playwrights, as we know, uh, creating and making time to write while also financially supporting yourself can be challenging. So we try to make a small dent in that with a monthly stipend of $200 a month, which comes out to like 2,400 a year. But there's also finances for an artistic support fund, which is $1,000 a year, and each playwright has ownership over how they want to use that. And sometimes that's an internal table reading. Sometimes it's helping support travel to a city for a project or for networking, or sometimes it's, wanting to hire a dramaturg to work on a specific piece, or, I think it can be used in a multiple variety of ways. And one of the other key things that have come in our update to this program is having more public elements where the resident playwrights are sharing work out in the community, which comes with in the first year. We have an announcement party, but also there's one night or an event during the Bay Area Playwrights Festival where the playwrights read their own work and really kind of having like a little mini showcase. And then in the second year, having a hybrid public reading. So it's an in-person reading with the option to release it on demand so folks can access even if they aren't here, with a culminating celebration at the end. So we this year still have two of our public readings from our current resident playwrights in addition to the celebration at the end of the year. So we're about to go through one complete cycle of this new program structure. And I think it's also important to name that we really try to co-create what the experience is with each of the cohorts. There are elements and structures that we have that we repeat or reiterate on each time, trying to improve upon. But, each of the writers bring what their focus is, what they individually and collectively want to work on as a cohort. And as I said, designing those artistic goals and career vision. And we try to support that both individually, but also what that looks like as a cohort. And then after the residency, playwrights, remain in, our network for of alumni, and we try to stay connected afterwards as well. So this is the time I'm gonna uh, invite Ruben to introduce herself and also just share kind of what their experience from a playwright side throughout these 2 years. They actually had their public reading. They were the first one to do their public reading back in March, so they've kind of gone through a majority of it. So I'm going to invite them here, and I'm also going to shift us, I think, to spotlighting us. So I'm gonna at least going to spotlight you, Ruben. So, and then we'll shift that. All right. I think
Good.
you're unmuted.
All right. Hello. I'm Ruben Grijalva, he, him. I'm sitting on historic Miwok lands. Um, and I am, more than halfway through the second year of the Playwrights Foundation residency. I've been thinking about like what are the things. I think it's going to depend on who you are, what your goals are, and where you are in your career. What is going to be salient for you in the program because it is very co-created. It also, frankly, depend on who the cohort is. If you end up in a cohort, I found that our my experience has been really shaped by the other playwrights, both because we do kind of co-create the program with the staff, and also because I would say for me, one of the big things I was looking for and have definitely gotten from the program was a sense of community. Uh, and I, which can be kind of a vague word, but um, playwriting is can be lonely business. It can feel like you're in a dark room and nobody cares what you're working on. It has these challenges with maintaining structure because we all have other things we have to do in our lives that are calling our attention. And so I would say, like for me, structure and community were the two things that I was looking for, and I think have really gotten out of the program. And by structure, I just mean like you're going to these monthly meetings, you're having these meetings with staff, you're you're being put in a room with other playwrights and dramaturgs and other artists to really like focus and talk about playwriting and theater and all the things and not just about a particular play like you're put in a room when you're working on a production or something, but like broadly generally about your career, what you're looking to do, um and you know, meeting people you might want to do it with and all that sort of thing. So just having that structure of like the monthly check-ins, and the retreat and then of course in the second year the actual reading, that to me built this structure around, okay, I know that I'm going to, like, no matter what else is going on, I'm going to be not forced, but I'm going to have the um I'm going to have an external thing telling me, hey, you need to be paying attention to the play you're working on or your playwriting career more generally, in a way that, like, frankly, a lot of the times you're not getting that, right? Maybe you're going out to contests, maybe if you're in a production or something like that, but in between those periods, you know, it's very self-directed career path, and it also is one in which you're almost certainly doing other things as well. So just having that monthly focus, and then the second part, the community part, which is equally important, is sort of it's built into the structure. We're meeting together, we're talking together. You're getting to spend time with peers, other playwrights who are have the same sort of struggles and different struggles, but you know are engaged in the same kind of thing, and you have this organized place to talk shop, to hear, to be here and be inspired by their work, um, and to share and get feedback on your work, but not just your work on sort of like it's broader than that. It's about like who you want to be as an artist. You know, we worked on our artistic statements this year, which is something I truly hate doing. But having the structure and community within which to do it, where three other writers are also, some of whom hate doing it, also are having to do it, and then sharing it out together. And then having this moment where, like, when you write an artistic statement on your own, right, at home, because you have some uh, commission you're applying for, whatever, you know, you kind of write it and you read it and you go, I don't know, I guess that sounds like me, and you send it out, or at least this is my experience. I won't speak for everyone. Some people maybe like doing these, but then having someone to bounce it off of and say, oh yeah, that totally captures you, or maybe this would capture your particular artistic um, goals better if you move this sentence up here, you know, just like having that interaction uh, made, I think, the process of creating an artistic statement less painful, and also probably the product better, which is something, you know, you don't have if you're co alone. So just having this like kind of like little cocoon of people around you for this 2 year period who are like explicitly in your corner, both, but and that's both the cohort, the other playwrights, and the staff, has been really great. I mean, especially coming out of COVID, which was just this isolating period for everyone, to jump back into like a community type experience, I found to be really valuable. Um, and the fact that it was, I did come in with the goal of completing a new play I was working on, and was able to do that with the help of the structure and the community. But also, you know, there was a point last year where I had a reading of an older play down in LA, and so I went down there to see the reading, and like because of Playwrights Foundation support, the staff support, all these artistic directors and stuff had gotten emails about the reading. You know, I was able to like leverage that to make that reading a better way of making connection than it would have been if I had just gone down there on my own. I also might have used some of my artistic support fund to pay for the ticket or whatever. So there's that
Yeah.
aspect of it as well. So those are the big things for me. I see there's probably some questions coming in. I haven't looked at them, but
Yeah, no, that's
Mary,
okay. You don't have to. Yeah, if there are
did you
any
have any
questions,
questions you wanted to lead?
no, I
Was there
thought
anything I
that was
said?
actually
Yeah.
really great of what you're sharing there, Ruben. And I think there are some questions coming in around like what is mid-career, what does resident look like, which I think is connected to eligibility, and we're going to go over that here next. So I think those are good questions. But I think if anybody has any questions around what does the program look like itself and what, what happens in the midst of the program, if or any questions for Ruben in terms of what their experience has been like as a playwright, they're going to leave us here after this moment. So if there are any questions, but also Jeffrey, before we move into eligibility and talk about those specifics, is there anything you want to share in terms of what you've, experienced as a staff member, in terms of the program and itself and the structure? Oh, I need to make you a co-host so you can unmute yourself.
Oh, okay, goodness. I would say for me, the thing that I love the most about RPP, or one of the things I love the most, is what I think Ruben already pointed to, which is that from my perspective, as someone who's primarily a dramaturg, playwriting can be such an isolated practice. And there is not a structure of support for playwrights in the way that there is once you get into production or anything. Um, and I feel like it is so special that we have the ability to gather for playwrights in this place, which also I would say the Bay Area can really atomize itself, its artistic community, just geographically, socially, economically. A lot of forces are pushing people apart. And I think there's something really beautiful about bringing four people who into community together, with us supporting and investing in them, providing some structure, but it's really the cohort experience that I think is so special about this and is so different than other residency programs. That's something that I think is really beautiful and really unique. So for that, I think this is an incredibly valuable opportunity, and I think it's really cool. I'm so glad that I get to play even a small part in it, and I get to be around these incredible artists like Ruben and the other three current cohort members.
Yeah, thank you. And the primary staff that support the program are myself and AJ, who is our artistic producer, and then also Jeffrey supports and attends as many meetings as they can, but not always the same frequency as AJ and I, who are facilitating and artistically kind of directing the program. But Jeffrey does join us for the retreats and things like that throughout the process. So, all right, I don't see any other questions. I think people are itching to know about kind of eligibility, which is what this is bringing up in questions. But Ruben, that was lovely. Thank you so much for joining us for that and sharing about your experience. It was really helpful.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, nice to see
All
Thank you,
everyone.
right.
Ruben.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on to eligibility. And before Jeffrey kind of gets into some of the semantics, I think we kind of talk about this program as being something for mid-career playwrights who are already have some like wind under their sails and things that are happening and inertia that are happening in their career. This is not a program if you're like, I'm not getting opportunities. I'm not, getting uh, uh, things that are happening or have happened. Like we can't create the inertia in someone. That's why it's not for like emerging or very early career where people haven't had opportunities. But it is for folks that have already kind of been doing things professionally, and this really is about how to help elevate you kind of to the next level that you're wanting to have in your career. Um,
Yes,
am
and
I
just to
freezing for
reiterate,
you,
because I think there might have
Jeffrey?
been some, just a little bit. Just I think that what might have been missing, or what sort of got froze out a little bit for me, that I'd reiterate is that this program is sort of an accelerant for someone's career that is already has some momentum. It is not designed to initiate momentum that is not yet there for you. And so that's going to underline a lot of what we're talking about in the eligibility information and who we are trying to, who we think this opportunity is for, and who will be most successful in the application process. Trisha, I also see that you're interested in some programmatic stuff about the retreat. I wonder if we can maybe kick that question to the end and then really focus in on the eligibility here and then the application process. And can everyone hear me and see me okay? Great.
I think so.
Thank you so much. So on page 2 of our application guidelines, which we're going to be referring to a lot, again, these are available on our website. It is a 7-page PDF. There's a lot of really good information in there. And I'll just say at the top, if you have any questions about this, feel free to email me directly at literary@playwrightsfoundation.org. I'll make that point again, I'm sure, several times during this presentation. But this is a program which is designed to accelerate the careers of mid-career playwrights who reside in and are rooted in the San Francisco Bay Area. We define this as being the 9 counties that touch the Bay. You can read them here: San Francisco through Sonoma. We have put a lot of thought into how we define mid-career. That is a tricky term, and anytime we go into an application process, either for this or for BAPF, this is a point of much discussion inside of our staff meetings. For our purposes here, we ask that to be eligible for this opportunity, that you have written at least 2 full-length plays of at least 60 pages. That you have, again, momentum in your playwriting career as evidenced by at least 1 professional production of a full-length play or 4 professional development opportunities. And then there's some further details here that's all completed prior to application. I think I should add as well, I feel like this is, you need to be resident in the San Francisco Bay Area. Really successful applicants will be really rooted in this community and have sort of demonstrated commitment to and involvement in Bay Area communities and playwright and theater communities specifically. If you are a current student, that is not necessarily disqualifying, but you must have an expected graduation date of December 2025. That we are, again, this is not necessarily something that can run in parallel with a BA or an MFA program, but rather something that is accelerating someone who already has this momentum in their professional career that's happening, and that we can serve and we can buttress and we can reinforce. We request that you primarily write in English, although we do support multilingual plays, and that is a major commitment of ours. And we also, unfortunately, need to ask that you have valid work authorization. We cannot sponsor green card if you don't already have one. And finally, you cannot be a current BAPF cohort member or an RPI or RPP alumnus. That's a lot of information, but I think what is the most important thing is that this is meant for mid-career playwrights who already has some momentum that they're trying to expand and buttress and reinforce in their career, that reside in the Bay Area. And that's sort of the principle underlying any of this.
I'm going to highlight a question and speak to it, but there's a question from Nicole around, are we interested in applications for musical theater book writers? Is the program able to support musical theater or just straight plays? So what I would say to that is that we have had artists who are also musical theater writers. For example, Min Kong is one of our alums from the resident playwright program as well, but he also writes straight plays. So this program is not, if you are only a musical theater book writer, I would say this is not the program for you. We do not have resources to support musicals and the development of musicals. We don't do readings of musicals. Our primary focus is on, kind of on straight plays, but we do support. There are writers who have expansion of their artistry, or I even think about, Dan Wolfe, who also, has a mixture of kind of hip hop within his artistic development as well, and blending, but who also writes straight plays as well, because that is the primary focus that we're able to support as well. Um, if there's any other kind of questions around eligibility itself, but just also want to emphasize and highlight what Jeffrey said, that the reason this is called a resident playwright is because it is for residents of the Bay Area. So you must live in one of these 9 counties that it talks about. Our meetings are in person. And also we are supporting folks that live here in the Bay Area, which is different than our BAPF program, which is a national program that people can apply for around the United States. And this is only for those that are in the Bay Area.
Okay. Are there any other?
Jeffrey, I wonder if you can speak just a little bit to what we have kind of highlighted here in terms of for
Yes.
our definitions of what professional means.
Yeah, as you can see by the length of this paragraph, we have many, we've tried to put some structure around what we mean by professional opportunity. And particularly in something like theater, particularly in the Bay Area, where we are working with the kind of material circumstances that we are in, this can get kind of hazy. So we have this paragraph here that professionals define as a paid opportunity or at a theater or a new play development organization. Some things that are not professional productions by our standard here is a university production, a self-produced production. We have further things about the public performances, people being paid, no scripts in hands, etc. There's a lot of information in this. If you have questions about it, if you feel like you're in an edge case, which I'm sure someone will be, please contact me directly and we can figure it out together. But what we're trying to establish is that you are working directly with theaters who are paying people. You are pursuing this. This is a career that you have momentum in a very substantial way already that we can reinforce and we can help accelerate for you. Does that answer your question, Jessica, or should I go into further detail there?
Yeah, no, I think that is good. And we kind of have a little case study that I think Madeline is bringing up in the chat,
Oh, I
which I think
see.
we can
Thank you.
maybe speak to it a little bit, but I also want to note that if you have a specific question around whether you are eligible, you can email Jeffrey, with your resume, with your bio, and ask does this meet the eligibility requirements? And that's at Literary at Playwrights Foundation. But I think we can look at this real quick and maybe kind of speak to it. But sometimes it needs a little conversation because
Yeah.
I think we are looking at new play development opportunities that are outside of universities. So I think I would have more questions for you, for those that are joining us online. I'll read out what Madeline wrote, which was I was a part of Santa Clara University's New Playwrights Festival cohort and both directed and wrote my one-act play that was performed during the culminating New Playwrights Festival. I'm currently working on that play that was performed so I can apply to an MFA program within the next 2 years because I'd like to give myself time. I have 3 full-length plays written and devising 3 other ones. In total, I want to write 6 plays in this program if I'm able to. So what I would say in that, you meet the eligibility in that you have written 3 full-length plays, or which meets the eligibility requirement of having two plays. What I think I have a little more questions around is around the momentum in your playwriting career, as evidenced by, at least 1 full professional production or at least 4 professional development opportunities. Because if I were to read this just in terms of the Santa Clara University's New Playwrights Festival cohort, I would be wondering, was that when you were a student? And in that case, it does not qualify as a professional development opportunity. If it is something where Santa Clara University has, an application process and they're bringing in, playwrights who are outside of their student body as a cohort, and working on, then that might potentially, if folks are paid in the process. But that one is kind of a little gray area that I think we'd need to maybe talk about a little bit
Yeah.
more. But that process alone would not qualify because you would need at least 4 professional development opportunities. So that might mean, I'll be honest, I'll take us as an example. Like if you had a reading at Playwrights Foundation outside, we used to do readings in the past, outside of BAPF and the resident playwright program. So that would maybe count as one, but also like if you're local here and you had a reading with Playground, that would count as one. If you had a relationship with an organization and they did a public reading of one of your plays, that would count as one. Or, maybe Playpen or Playwrights, some of these other kind of new play development organizations that are like ours that have an application process that you were selected for that did, a reading. I think those are the things we're kind of looking for is folks that have had multiple opportunities already, that we're able to qualify kind of for that momentum. So hopefully that is helpful. And if you have further questions, that was kind of just one little case study.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be able to go over multiple other case studies here, but I would recommend that people reach out to Jeffrey about your personal circumstance if you have questions around whether you fit the momentum kind of playwriting career.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Madeline. First of all, much love to Santa Clara, incredible university, incredible theater program down there. And I would also, the other thing I would zero in on that would be that it's a one-act play on top of the university element as well, and that we are looking for one production of a full-length play, I believe, is what is
Oh, thank you.
in their guidelines. Kelly Lee asked very helpfully, does Playwrights Foundation offer any programs for emerging playwrights, specifically those who have written full-length plays but have not yet had a production? I would say for us, that program is the Bay Area Playwrights Festival, which is an incredible opportunity. We are wrapping up application our selection for right now, but applications for BAPF 48, oh my goodness, this is quite a large number, will be forthcoming in the future, I would say.
It'll be next fall.
It'll be next fall.
So
Thank you so much.
in some of our program, we used to have that program every year, but in our updates in 2023, the Bay Area Playwrights Festival applications and the festival itself is every other year because we have expanded that support to support a playwright in developing their one play over a year. So if that is what you are looking for, stay on our mailing list, stay in communication. That program is probably better for you than this resident playwright program.
Absolutely. Okay.
Which also you can be a current student or a recent student in that program as well. We do have people that are in current MFA programs that are in that, which is different than this one that we are looking for folks that are outside of educational programs.
The eligibility for that is much broader.
It's much different.
I think the eligibility requirement in terms of career is only that you cannot be a late career playwright, so it's much more expanded. Okay.
You can't have had too many plays produced because you don't need our help. It actually is for like early emerging and mid-career playwrights. So, so that would probably be better for folks. Any other specific questions, or we might move on from this and catch some of those in our Q&A later if there are additional questions, just like the one about the retreat, and we'll expand on that later. But maybe we should move forward here, Jeffrey.
Okay, great.
And talking about how to actually apply.
So you are an interested applicant. You've read through the eligibility criteria. Lucky you, you qualify in all this respect. You're really interested in all of the resources and the cohort building that we can provide, and you're interested in applying. Our application portal is set to open on August 11th. We use a platform called WiseHive to manage our applications. So if you have applied for BAPF or RPP, and I believe 2023
the past 3 years. Yeah,
past 3 years.
2022.
If you already have a profile, it should still exist and you should be able to access it. Otherwise, when you go into the link that we will provide on our website, you will be asked to make a profile, and that has some demographic information, etc. But that is step one. And I think at this point I can jump into what you will see once you have made that profile. Is that a good idea? Hold on.
Maybe it is good because I think even the application checklist and everything that
We can
you
talk it up
need
there.
is in the application itself. So maybe we can go to there.
Okay.
But before we hop into that, I just want to name that the application portal is going to be open for 2 weeks. And any application that comes in within those 2 weeks, will be a part of the process. I also want to name we are still trying to figure out some technical issues that just came up with our application portal. So we are hoping to um, open it on the 11th, but it might be a little later than 8 a.m. So just we'll keep updates out on our website, but don't be freaking out. This isn't for those of you who applied to BAPF in the past. We've had a structure to where we can only accept 600. That is not the case for this. So you can, if you get it in on the 26th, it still can be a part of the process. So I'm going to stop sharing so that you can
Thank you.
share, but I was hoping that also might give you the chance to pull up
Sure.
this next part.
Okay, let me pull up my screen. Can everyone see tester? My very creative test name here. Is that visible? Oh, I realize I can't see the comments in this view. So Jessica, for
That's
you.
okay. I will help pull
Okay,
that forward. I also realized it might have been helpful to look at the login page itself.
Okay. I can log out then. Hold on. Oop. Okay, this is the login seat. We will see our banner here. You'll see first time here, sign up if you need to, which some of you may. If you're a returning user, when you sign in with the same email and password, you should be brought into your account, which already exists. If you need to
The
build
only
a new
thing I
one,
want to name here is sometimes it'll say you are not like we cannot assess that you're a human or you are not a human, or sometimes there's like technical difficulties that come up with this, and there are some recommendations which includes like clearing your cache, maybe using a different browser, things like that. But if you keep encountering those technical issues, just reach out to Jeffrey.
I just read up. We'll figure it out. Yeah, so I already have an account in here. So when I log in, which will take a minute because my computer is thinking today, it'll bring it up. You can see my profile is in here. It is already complete. I wonder if I click edit, if I can show you. Hold on, and move out my LastPass really fast. What? Um, First name, last name, all this information. Perhaps you would like or not like our newsletter, etc. We do collect demographic information to do sort of audit of our and any potential bias that might come up in our process, and then the way we implement it, etc. If any of this feels uncomfortable to you or you would not like to indicate, I believe it is the option, at least for gender and race and diaspora, for age group, uh, LGBTQIA identity, or disability. There's a prefer not to say option too that I would highlight as well. Okay, so assuming that you have no changes, especially if it's an old profile and you haven't moved or anything like that, this is what you will see. You'll be able to go into application intake down here, or we'll say a big plus sign and get started if I hadn't already started this. And this is going to be a very important screen for you. 25 application intake. Below you will find et cetera, et cetera. Your application is here. And there is this grayed out button that says apply, which we will return to in a minute. I'm just pointing it out to signpost that we're going to come back. When you come in, you'll be asked for your first name, last name, pen name, and email, and you'll be asked to state that you are a resident of the Bay Area and that you meet all eligibility requirements. So since I do, I will click yes.
Which, just to name, those eligibility requirements are the ones that were listed out that we
And yeah,
just reviewed. So you're making sure that you've reviewed those, attested that you meet all of those.
okay. So your artistic work samples are as follows. We are asking for one full-length play, one resume, and one 30-page script sample. That is not a 30-page play. It is a sample of your second or whichever full-length play that you have that you'd like to send us. We ask here for your title, for a brief synopsis of that play, and to that you upload your document of that play here. Resume comes next, script sample, etc. When you are picking your work samples, I think, and this is going to be a theme throughout, um, it does not need to be the work that has been produced in your career, if that is part of your eligibility and how you're coming in, but rather really try to put your strongest foot forward. What is the piece that represents you and your most realized self so far? What is the piece that you are perhaps proudest of, that you're most excited to share with people? That is the work that we're looking for. Additionally, for the script sample, one thing that is quite attractive, I think, to us is a breadth or to get a sense of who you are as a complete artist. If you were trying to show us different textures and different parts of your career or different parts of your interest, areas you might go, we have the other materials will help us get a sense of that. We have an optional additional work sample. We know that many playwrights are, in fact, multi-hyphenate artists who are working across several disciplines. Say you're a librettist, or say you're a poet or a journalist. And do you think that's a really important part of your identity as a writer and as an artist? We are interested in this as well. So we offer an ability to add an additional work sample if you feel like the full-length script and the script sample are not sufficient to give us an idea of who you are and all of your complexity and beauty. Again, I underline though that this is optional. If you would not like to provide this, if you don't have anything to provide in this additional work sample, you will not be penalized. Your application will not necessarily be weaker for it. We only want to accommodate people who really feel like this is important to them and provide them a space to do this, but it is not mandatory. I want to underline for you. This
Um,
additional, please.
oh, you go ahead. No, finish talking
No,
about
no.
those and then I'll
Oh,
highlight a
the
question
sample,
about
it
what
could be a
this additional
PDF.
sample.
Yeah, it could be a short video. It could be an audio link as well. And there's some guidelines in here about how we would like that to be made available to us and to our reviewers, if that's the case. Jessica, what were you going to say?
Yeah, can you review what those specifications are of how
Sure.
this third
Um,
one is really about a short bite size, not as long as the other two?
It is not as long as the other two. Just to be fair to our reviewers, if you have a beautiful, 5 hour long durational dance film, I think that's so cool, and I'm so excited for you. And we have unfortunately a limited amount of time to review all these applications, so we have some guardrails around this additional work sample. Document work samples are limited to 5 pages total. Maybe some beautiful poems can fit in there, maybe an op-ed. Video and audio samples are limited to 3 minutes total. It's really to give us a sense, a taste of who else you might be as an artist, if that is not sufficiently communicated in your resume, in your full-length script, and in your script sample.
Great.
Yeah, if there's any links, they will not be reviewed. Please, if there's any passwords to like a Vimeo moment, like please include those. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me and we can figure it out.
Yeah, if there are any questions about what we've talked about so far, please put them in the chat. One that I do want to highlight is around from Tara saying if you are a director too, is that an additional work sample or should it only be something to do with writing? And what I want to clarify is when we're talking about getting a holistic view of you as an artist, we're actually looking for what that means for you as a writer in
Yes.
your artistry. So
Mhm.
we are not looking for things that if you are a director that you have directed, this is a writing program. And so we are looking for other things in terms of the breadth of your writing career. So that's actually a really great question because we do have other multi-hyphenate artists who are directors or dramaturgs or sound designer, whatever, knowing that you can go across that. But this is talking about your multi-hyphenate writing career
Thank you for that
in terms of
clarification.
an additional work sample here.
Okay. Um, Another place where you can really give us a sense of who you are as a writer specifically is in your narrative questions. We have, I believe, five of them, yes. They are relatively brief, I would say. This first one is 250 words, the other are 200, the last is 50 words. And I would really focus in on these first four specifically. Why are you interested in this program, and how do you hope it will help you grow as a writer? What else do you want us to know about you or your journey as a writer that might not be captured in that first question? In your own words, what are the ways that you identify? And what is your connection to the Bay Area as a writer and a community member? Um, I think that what are we looking for in these moments? In this first question, I think we are looking for that you really understand what the opportunity is here, and you feel like where you are as a writer specifically can benefit from the structures that we are providing. It can benefit from the cohort moment. It can benefit perhaps from the development support that we can offer. I think that we are trying to get a sense of how this particular opportunity will accelerate, will buttress the work that you are shooting towards right now. The second question, what else do you want us to know about you or your journey as a writer? I think is more of a space for things that don't really fit very easily into this first moment or aren't expressed in other places. Again, trying to offer you the this quality, this space in order to explain that to us and explain that to the reviewers in a way that's relatively direct. I mean, it's only 200 words. In your own words, what are the ways that you identify? This is a deliberately broadly phrased question. I think for me, I would say something like, I am a child of immigrants. I am of mixed race, perhaps. Or I'd also say that I have a very robust career in dramaturgy, and I identify strongly as a dramaturg as a writer, if I was a writer, mostly a dramaturg. Bad example. But this is a place for us to understand where your perspective is coming from and what are the experiences that you have, perhaps, that are really important into understanding your creative journey. Um, what is your connection to the Bay Area as a writer and community member? It is a very it is a great asset to you if you have or rather, I would say applicants who are deeply rooted in the Bay Area community will be very competitive in this process. One of our core values as an organization is a local commitment, and we are really trying to, again, reinforce, strengthen, sustain the Bay Area writing community as best we can. And this is, I think, a moment where you can explain how embedded you are in this web, in this fabric, and how that value can sort of be met there. And then finally, how did you hear about this program? That's a little bit less stressful, I think. But it's really important for us to know. It's for us to evaluate our communication strategies and how we're getting out there. Jessica, is there anything else you'd like to add there, or any questions that have come
Yeah,
up?
do you mind just scroll up a little bit, just get these first four in there? I think I want to share we're not, looking for these perfected essays. They're not artistic statements, they're not development goals. Um, you can think more conversational. We want to get to know you and your personality. With that being said, I do think it's important that you like work them out in advance and make sure you
Yeah.
get in what you want to share within the word count limit. Um, uh, but it doesn't need to be exactly perfect. I also want to just kind of direct, I think, in terms of like in terms of these first two, thinking about the first one really is future focused. Like, how do you want to grow? How can this program help support that? Why is Playwrights Foundation the place for you to be able to achieve these goals? So, really about what you would be hoping for in these next 2 years if you were selected, and how would you want to use the resources? And really, the second one is really about like, what else in the past are you wanting us to know about you as a writer, about your journey, what it's meant for you, how's it started, anything that you feel like might be helpful for us to get a fuller picture of who you are, just in terms of like um, uh, how to kind of look at those first two. And because as we've mentioned, yes, we're looking at your work, but we're not just looking at your work alone. It really is trying to look holistically as as who you are as an artist, as well as what your journey is as a writer, where you are in your career, and how what you're hoping to move towards next, and how you think we can kind of help support into that next area. And also, I think what I want to just share in terms of connection to the Bay Area as a writer and a community member, um, in the requirements, we just have that you've lived here for at least 1 year. We're looking for also a diversity of what our cohort is. So I also, in terms of what Jeffrey was saying, if you've lived here 1 or 2 years, I don't want you to feel like this program is not for you. I think what it is it's for people who are wanting to make the Bay Area your home in some way, that you are connected here, that you haven't just moved here, but also might move away in a year. But also that maybe you have some connections that are started. I think we have found that this program is most effective for those that are wanting to deepen their connection in the Bay Area, as opposed to someone who has recently moved here and you're starting from scratch. I think it's the same thing in terms of your career acceleration, in terms of your, connection to the Bay Area here. It is challenging in a 2 year residency to start from scratch in terms of relationships and connection to the Bay Area, but it is great in terms of being able to help deepen your relationship and kind of make more broader connections here. But I don't want you to think that like you have to have been here for 20 years and that is a requirement. Our requirement is you've at least lived here 1 year to be able to apply for the program. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, but we'll also have a section at the end. But I'm not seeing any additional questions here, so maybe we can move to the next section, Jeffrey.
Next section is payment. One thing we will discuss, I think this in greater detail, but one thing I am very proud of in terms of our application processes at Playwrights Foundation is that we do offer fee waivers. If for any reason paying an application fee, first of all, which is on the sliding scale from $10 to $40, if even $10 is a barrier to you to participating in this application process, please request a fee waiver and we will do our best to accommodate you and you will almost certainly be accommodated. We do not want this fee to be any kind of barrier to entry to anyone, really. I wonder if this is the moment to talk about
Yeah, I think I just want to also talk about fees. Like, yes, we do that, but I also want to name some of why we do charge a fee. We try to make it as accessible as possible, but we are a small organization. We do pay our readers, we're paying our staff. It is a huge financial cost for the application processes. And now that we've made them open, we are reviewing more even in this program than we did before. So just knowing that if you are in a financial place to be able to help, we are so grateful, and it goes towards the people who are reviewing your application, and also the application software that we have invested in to try to make it easier for you and also our reviewers in the process. So it does not go into our general bank. It doesn't even come close to covering the cost. But I will say, I think we just try to make it as accessible as possible. And sometimes we have people who pay the 40 and give additional donations. I will say that has no impact on your application itself. Reviewers don't see it. Most of the time, staff don't even know what that is. But if you're in a place to be able to do that, we're super grateful. And if you're not, that's okay too. We find that the people that are able to do, and it helps to cover those that need a fee waiver. But also just wanted to give a little bit more behind the scenes as to like where your money is going if you are able to pay a fee.
Of course. Okay. I'm going to save this as a draft since I haven't filled this all out. But if you were to go through this and go all the way through and fill this all out, it would be great. You can mark this as complete and move forward. I'm going to close this currently, though. So if you would finish this application just now, this button here would become green and it would say apply. And you will need to click this button. I am saying this in this way because when I was testing the application, I forgot to do it and I got really confused, which I think may happen to some of us who are applying for this. So please note this button. It is very important and it will need to be clicked in order to initiate the sort of closure of the application moment. Once you click this button, a set of events will happen, which we are working through right now. And Jessica, I wonder if you could step in and talk a little bit about what are the steps after you have applied in this way.
Yeah. So after you have applied, so as we talked about, there is a payment portion to the application as well. But you're going to go into a folder and a staff will be mainly manually going through to see who has requested a waiver and who has said they are going to pay. So it takes, give a couple days, 2 to 3 days. It might be faster, but just give at least 2 to 3 days for a staff member to manually go through that. If you have said you will pay, you will then receive the invoice and an email that says, action, next step action for you to officially complete your application, because your application is not fully in until the payment process is completed, which is either paying the invoice that comes in or receiving the email that says your waiver, your payment waiver has been approved or denied. I will say I don't think we've ever denied someone an application waiver if it has been requested. But you will receive a confirmation that says it has been reviewed. And then upon payment, you'll receive a confirmation email that says, great, thank you for your payment, and or your application, your waiver has been approved. And then there's another review process. So the eligibility that we've talked about, we have discovered that even though folks say, yes, I meet this, as we're discovering in some of the questions, there can potentially be some gray zone that are still some questions. So we do a step where we review the applications for eligibility only. We aren't looking at we aren't reading anything like the things, but we are looking at, are you actually local? Do you meet this criteria of having the multiple plays? Have you submitted a play and not a screenplay for your attachments and things like that? And so there's going to be another 2 to 3 days where then I say staff, but it really is Jeffrey who's
That's
doing
me.
all of the review on the back end just to make sure that your eligibility is is confirmed within what we have put up there, and then you will receive either an email that says, amazing, your eligibility is reviewed, your application is complete, it is now going into the review stage, or you'll receive first a personal email from Jeffrey saying, hey, for these reasons, it doesn't look like you meet eligibility requirements. Can you just confirm that is accurate? If you say, oh, yes, yeah, that is correct. And or you can say, oh, actually, no, this means XYZ. And oh, I'm sorry, I'll submit a play instead of a screenplay for my 30-page attachment or something like that. And then if for some reason you don't meet the eligibility, you'll move into a full, you'll receive, after conversation with Jeffrey, you'll get an official thank you for applying, but you don't meet the eligibility requirements. And if you paid a fee, we will reimburse that fee. We will not keep your fee if you are not eligible. So I think there are a couple of steps before it's official that your application is confirmed, but you should be receiving communication throughout that process. So if for some reason you're not, one, of course, always check your spam folder.
True.
But two, if you haven't received some of those emails or it's been a whole week and you haven't received anything, like, contact Jeffrey and or check that this apply button is green, because if it is not, then we haven't even received your application. So, I think those are the things. And when in doubt, if you have a question after checking all these things, after reading through the guidelines, you can email Jeffrey.
Okay. I'm going to stop share now. Excellent. Let's final draft work for submission.
What is
I think that
next? I think that was how, well, we've talked about it. I was going to be like, how do people get help? But they email you.
email me.
Um, yeah, I think that was pretty much all the details that we were going to move through. So I think now we move into the Q&A if there are any other specific Q&A. And I see one question, does final draft work for submission?
Shipra,
Um,
yeah, I would ask maybe that you export your final draft file into a PDF and upload that. I think that PDF is sort of the standard that we work with in terms of text documents and the application process.
Yeah, any documents need to be in a PDF form, which can be exported from Final Draft or Google Docs or something like that. So, for example, you can't put in a Google Docs link. You'll need to download that into a PDF and
And
upload
if you
it.
need help with that, if it's or there's some sort of technical issue, again, please just email me and we can figure it out.
Um, uh, Continue to put more questions if you have them in the chat, but I'll also go back to the question earlier that was asking more about the retreat experience.
Sure.
So in the program, we have a retreat experience at the beginning of each year in January or early February, which really kind of lays the groundwork for the year. But we go away to a retreat site for 2 nights, 3 days, over a weekend. And first, especially in the first year, there's a lot of just community building and getting to know each other, but there's also visioning exercises in terms of what do people, envision for the cohort, for themselves. Also, a time to really build out those goals for what you're wanting for the year, and to put those down on paper. And then sometimes we have individual meetings, either at the retreat or we follow up with those when we get back. But also, we eat together. We have this lovely former board member that has been, her and her husband have done the meals. And as anybody knows, breaking bread together is one of the best ways to, and maybe drinking a little wine if people, drink some wine, or late night conversations, that just really kind of build the relationships and being able to get away. We also have time where each resident playwright shares their work, and get reflections back to them. It's not always like a critique, it's usually like a 20-page sample where playwrights read their own work. There's a lot of that, of playwrights reading their own work, either in the meetings or in the sessions, and find that is kind of a activity that is done often. So yeah, it's a lot of community building, and it's also a lot of just grounding yourself in visioning and goals, and connection to each other and to yourself.
I would have to say about the retreat as well, it's just it feels like a really concentrated version of what this program offers sort of on a monthly basis, which is a very specific and sort of container for playwrights to dive into their playwriting. When in so many other parts of our lives, when we have other jobs that we work or other things that are going on, we're taken to a lot of different directions. The retreat is really a time for you to focus on your career and your community with these other playwrights in a really concentrated way. Thank you for that. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Shipra asks, oh, sorry, do you have any more points on that,
Nope,
Jessica?
that's all I was gonna highlight. So you can
Shipra asks, can
highlight
I
and
discuss
answer.
obligations that are particular to me before I was submit, so I don't waste your time? Yes, absolutely. Shipra, please write me an email, and you and I can figure out your situation, and we can discuss it if it's complicated or that it's very particular to you, and this is not the right forum. Yeah, please email me, and we can open up a conversation about that. Okay.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat, but just as a reminder, closing reminders, all those application guidelines, the form that we sent is up on our website under the apply tab for the resident playwrights. And I will say it is a living document. So if you've downloaded as a PDF, I really encourage you to keep checking or to keep it as the link, because as things have been changing, particularly in regards to our portal, we have been updating on the back end, and that goes directly to that link. So use that as your resource. The link, when the link is live, it will be on the website. The goal is that that is happening on Monday at 8 a.m. It might be a little delayed as we like just wrap up a couple things that we need to wait till Monday for, but we are hoping that is happens on Monday. If in the event we are not able to figure out those technical difficulties on Monday, we will put a very clear message up on our website that says we are working through this. But you have the application guidelines, you have everything that you can, do to prepare for when the portal opens. And we will adjust our dates so that there's 2 weeks for the portal to be open if for some reason it doesn't open on Monday. So any other final parting thoughts from you, Jeffrey?
I think my parting thoughts are, we're really proud of this program and we're really proud to offer it. And I just wanted to thank you all for coming. I think that thank you all for being interested in this. I hope that you're really engaged by it. I hope you're excited about it. I hope you're eligible. Even if you're not, thank you so much for being interested in Playwrights Foundation and the work that we do. Check out this program. Check out the other things that we do as well. Come to our readings. Come to, apply for BAPF when applications open next year. And yeah, I just want to encourage you to stay engaged, either through applying for this opportunity or seeing what else is out there. And if you have any questions, of course, send me an email and we can figure it out.
Great. Yeah. And so we are going to put this recording up on our website, but I see a question of whether the video will be emailed to us. Since you all did register and we have your emails, I will send out the video link when it's up on YouTube to everybody's email. So I will do that. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Hopefully we'll see some of you in the application process, but if not, hopefully, just like Jeffrey said, stay connected in other ways. All right.